Good morning. It is Tuesday, April 5th, and this is the Red Sea Roundup. I'm your host, Mike Beauvais. Today, for our Roundup section, we will be talking to Deacon Dave Mays about the Bible Timeline Bible study they've been doing at St. Thomas Aquinas. And so we will be live for the beginning of our show. So if you would like to call in, feel free to call us at 855-LOVE-RED-SEA. That's 855-683-7332.
You put one too many fives in there. 85.
Too many five.
Yeah, it's 85 Love Red Sea.
Well,
good morning.
Good morning, Dennis. How are you?
Start off by correcting you right away. I'm so sorry.
That's Dennis's full-time job. This is what happens when you hire no talent.
Well, I think you're very talented. I think that, we're all doing God's work here because he calls the qualified. He calls the, wait, how's it go? He qualifies the called. There it is.
That's right.
Good Tuesday morning, everyone.
And happy Easter to everybody. Deacon Dave, how are you?
I'm good. I'm hoping God will qualify this call here.
Before we get started on the Bible timeline, I wanted to check with everybody and see how their celebration of the Easter Triduum, Easter Sunday, the Easter Vigil, how did everybody experience the Triduum?
I was very excited about full churches on Holy Thursday, Good Friday. I was very excited to see that.
Yes, it was really nice to see as many people, especially at St. Anthony's. We had a full church both Thursday and Friday for both the celebration of the Lord's Supper and for the veneration of the cross. What did it look like at St. Thomas?
It was beautiful. It was wonderful, and we did have full churches. We wish we could have full churches beyond the Triduum, but we were working on that too. So it was wonderful.
Well, that's one of the reasons we're going to be talking about the timeline, because that is one way of evangelizing and getting people actively involved in their church. There were lots of other things going on around town for Easter, egg hunts and things like this, but I think we sometimes lose focus about all the stuff that goes around our religious holidays rather than the religious holidays themselves. And I think we need to remember to focus on why we are celebrating what we are celebrating.
Right. It was really wonderful. The Easter Vigil always is. But at St. Thomas, we did have a full house there, and we brought 22 new Catholics into the parish, joining the worldwide church. And it was, you think of that happening with the tens of thousands of people coming into the church that same night all over the world. And it's just really makes you feel humbled and just glad to be part of such a wonderful Christ-filled effort.
I think for me, that is one of the best parts of the Easter Vigil. It is the reminder when you see people coming into the church, be it being baptized for the first time or making their profession of faith if they're coming in from another faith tradition. But it's the enthusiasm that they bring for their faith is a reminder that that's what we should be feeling like every single Sunday.
Exactly.
You are helping with the Bible Timeline Bible study at St. Thomas, and you've been doing this several times during the week. So how's that been working out?
Yes, well, maybe if I could start at the beginning.
Sure.
We the Bible Timeline is sort of the second course, the sort of the parish-wide Bible study that we've had. The first one we ever tried was about this time last year. For 8 weeks, it was and these are Jeff Caven's courses, which are, he's a Bible guru. He's very good. And the first one was a quick journey through the Bible, which was only 8 weeks long. And Father came to us about January or so a year ago and said, I really want to have a Bible study. And of course, some of us, our eyes kind of glazed over. And he said, I want us to have it in and I said, sure, Father, we'll have I'm sure we can get a small room available and, attract the usual 10 or 12 people. I said, no, I really wanted to have it for the whole parish. And let's fill Zurich Hall, which is our biggest, one of our biggest auditorium. And we weren't sure where this was going, but Father, he presented that challenge to the whole parish, sort of time after time at the pulpit. And sure enough, we had 350 people sign up for this 8-week course, and it was just marvelous. It was, we were talking about full churches at Easter. I mean, we had the largest Bible study we ever had, and a key to that was offering it at, say, 5 different times. That made it easy for people to, if they missed one, they could come to another. And so that just whetted the appetite for this 23-week version that goes into much more detail, same Bible timeline, but in much more detail, that we started in the fall, and we will be concluding at the end of April.
Now, that's pretty daunting, 23 weeks or 24 weeks of participation.
Yes.
Did you maintain the same sort of enthusiasm throughout the Bible timeline, or did you see a little drop-off, or was it pretty much steady throughout?
Okay. Well, we for the 23 or 24-week course, we did get 250 people signed up, and we've had some over that period of time. We've had some loss, but most people have stayed with us, and that's been very gratifying. I think just to get anybody to commit to anything for 24 or 23 weeks is it's a bit daunting in these days. Offering the course at different times that people could work into their schedules was a good thing. We've also tried to supply notes from each of the Cavens talks that we send out on the internet, before the next week's session, just to help people. Sometimes you feel like if you've missed one or two, you've lost the whole whole thing, and we try to overcome that with these sets of notes.
What do you see as the benefit of doing a Bible study? Now, as Catholics, historically, the notion has been Catholics don't read the Bible.
Right.
And so, while that's not true, that's been the perception. And when you do these Bible studies, what are you trying to achieve in the congregation?
Okay. Well, I think St. Jerome said that ignorance of the Scriptures is ignorance of Christ. And that's ultimately the goal, is to help people gain a deeper and better understanding of who Jesus Christ is, why he came. And that's in both these sessions, the focus has been on salvation history. What is how did God work from the very beginning to bring this great dream of his? He lost his children in Genesis, and he's tried ever since to get them back. How did this all work together? And it's so easy in the Bible, or it's so difficult. The Bible presents its own challenges to understanding. And a lot of people make a commitment to read the Bible, and they do fine for Genesis, Exodus, and then they get to Leviticus. And some people say you just want to shoot yourself about chapter 6 in Leviticus, because and the problem is you lose the story, you lose the sense of the story, and that's one thing that Cavens has really tried to emphasize throughout is there is a continuity here, there's a plan here, there is a great wonderful goal here. The salvation of all mankind, and here's how God has worked through this time.
There were several instances in this Bible study when I had aha moments, things that you really don't think about as much when you're reading Scripture. For instance, the flipping back and forth between the Southern Kingdom and the Northern Kingdom, and things,
Right.
Who were they talking to?
Right.
And so I think one of the benefits of going to a Bible study like this is the basic story,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't have enough details to form it into one timeline.
Right. and he does a wonderful job with that. He makes the point that most of us who've been in the Catholic, been studying or whatever knowledge we have about Catholicism, he calls it we have this big heap of Catholicism as a pile on the floor, and we know the Bible's in there somewhere, and it all relates somehow, but we don't see the big picture. And you're right, the timeline itself, which really traces the great promise of God from Genesis, that the seed of the woman will crush the head of the serpent. The seed of the woman is this red line that's followed all the way down through the centuries. The seed being the promise of the Messiah, the Jesus, the lineage of Jesus himself.
I remember that in the timeline, you don't really read the entire Bible. He focuses on certain books in the Bible that, as you just mentioned, follow that red line.
Right. There are really about 14 books in the Bible that really give the narrative of the story. And so we really focus on those books, but he does a good job of weaving in the other books as well, as to, here's how this sheds more light, or here are some similar or related or complementary accounts of the same history.
And that gives everyone the opportunity to expand their horizons when they're done with the Bible study and see how those other books fit into what they've now looked at.
Yes, and in fact, that's the encouragement that Cavins gives, and that we'll give at the end of this course, is that now that you've gotten the thread of the story, now that you see the sweep of salvation history, now go back and read the Bible and gain the insights that are there throughout all these wonderful books that are offered.
What type of feedback have you been getting about the course?
Well, we're still in it, so we will have an evaluation that we'll ask people to do when the whole course is done. But informally, we are hearing that this is one of the really great experiences they've had in the parish. That this is something that they've wanted, and that but they haven't really figured out or known quite how to get done. Everyone has wanted to know more about the Bible. The Bible, it's just this wonderful treasure house, but to have the keys to unlock it from time to time, to delve into its richness, sometimes it's daunting. It really is. And so this is a way and a means to get it done. And Cavins is really a wonderful lecturer, and we gain some wonderful insights from him. One of the things that was just one of those great aha moments you mentioned was when God was speaking to Abraham and giving him these three great promises of a great people and a land and a blessing for all the world. And Abraham said, "Well, how can I know this is true?" And so God invites Abraham essentially to step outside and to look up into the sky and to count all the stars if he can. Well, the assumption is that it's at night, but Cavins points out that a few verses later, it's obviously the sun is just now setting on the same day. So God asked Abraham to come out and look at and try to count the stars in the daylight. And of course, you only see one, but and I think the lesson there is at night, yes, the stars are there. They are there, but we don't see them. And I think that gave Abraham great assurance of his faith that the stars are out there in the sky. You don't see them, and they are beyond counting. Maybe it's useful to know that Abraham never did see the promises of God, but he had the great faith to trust God with his life.
That's a very good point. The whole idea that faith and trust are the same thing. If I have faith, I trust that God will do what God says he will do, whether I see it or not. Right. And I think the point of that whole story is the fact that whether we see the stars or not,
they're there.
They're there. Yeah. And if God promises something, then whether we see it or not, it will be accomplished. And this is, the whole basis of our faith.
Right. And that's really the Old Testament is full of these instances and these situations where the people of Israel are called to trust God, and sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. When they do, blessings follow. When they don't, bad things happen.
That's so unlike the modern world where we continue to trust in God and never stray from the path.
Right. And that's the great thing, really, about the lessons that we're learning here is that it's not just ancient history. It's not just stuff that happened to people long ago that has no application to us. I mean, it all applies. It's all there. They're all lessons for us to learn because we have the same struggles of faith that those ancient peoples did.
Now that you all have been going through this Bible study for a while, what recommendations would you have for other parishes contemplating doing a timeline, especially considering it's such a lengthy endeavor, how to go about it, what pitfalls you've experienced, and how to possibly avoid those?
Okay. Great question. I think number one, the pastor has to be 100% behind it and really needs to sort of pound the pulpit and encourage people strongly or, whatever powers of persuasion he has to get people signed up. I think the materials need to be economical, and with the working through our bookstore, we were able to bring the cost down, and $40 was a workbook and all that they needed, and it was that helped, I think. But also offering the course at multiple times so that life happens, and from week to week, schedules change, but we offer the sessions twice on Tuesday, once on Wednesday evenings, morning and evening on Thursdays, and morning and evening on Tuesdays, I think I said. And that's been very helpful. That gives people a chance to stay with the course even if their situations change. And then I would also say pray. Pray for God to work a mighty work in the parish, because He has done it here in ours. It was really Father's faith, not mine, that He saw the possibility of involving practically the whole parish in this. And it's been truly a great blessing. And people have gotten to know each other. They've gotten to, they've enjoyed themselves. I mean, we have to, say, all right, be quiet now, because we're going to get into the study, because people come and they just enjoy each other's company. And so it's been a great parish building kind of fellowship kind of a thing as well. Some things that probably ought to avoid we have good facilitators, but we really need to train more and bring more online. It's just our facilitators they have lives too, and sometimes they can't make it for all the sessions, and so we've sometimes had to double up. So that's been a bit of a problem. I don't know if there's a better time of year to have this. This course went from the fall to April, but we had long breaks because of Christmas and Holy Week and spring break came in like 2 weeks in succession. So we had some long hiatuses, and that led to some drop off in participation. But I don't know if there's a good time. Just 23 weeks it's half a year.
Yes.
So, you choose your poison, I guess.
I know this study involves small group discussions about the questions and things. Do you see this being helpful in building the parish community? Because people get to talk to each other, they get to know each other. Is this one of the pluses of doing a Bible study like this?
Oh, I'd say very much so, Mike. As I say, it's really people who just had nodding acquaintances, across the across the pews have gotten to know each other, and there's faith sharing that goes on. There's a sense of this shared this shared beauty and faith in the living God, and it's a great thing to see. So yes, very definitely, people have gotten to know each other, and it's been a real parish building effort.
I've noticed in the Bible studies I've attended that one of the additional pluses of a Bible study is not only do you learn more about the Bible, but in participating in the small group discussions, you experience different perspectives that you by yourself would not have. For instance, someone will, based on something that happened to them in their life, will see a story totally different. And would you speak on the benefit of having that experience in a community?
Yes. I mean, as adults, we need to talk about these things. I mean, and it's I think the small group study really does help in that. If we just had a lecture and then we went home, I don't think that would be half the benefit. It's sharing our own lives and our own experience of God that really helps us see insights from others. As you mentioned, it helps us maybe really discover some things about ourselves that we didn't know, or our own experiences of God, because someone else had maybe a similar experience and they can relate. We can kind of figure things out together. So that's all to the good. That's all to the good. It's been said that the best friends are Christian friends because they share the greatest thing, which is the Lord Jesus. And I think we see that over and over in our Bible study.
When you think about your experience with this Bible study and the previous one, the quick journey version of this, how do you see the impact of this on the parish long term?
Okay. I don't know if I have a good answer for that for you yet, Mike. I think it can't help, but I just in my own experience with the study, I'm able to connect the dots more. I'm able to see the just from the passages that we read at Mass, daily Mass, and at on the weekends. We get really some excellent and wonderful readings, but we don't necessarily pay attention to what happens before or after. And the Bible study gives us a real context for that. And Father's hope is that that this is just a building block that in forming disciples. That's our mission as a parish. That's the stated mission is to form disciples of our people. And as you know, to be a disciple of Christ is a lifelong journey. And our hope is that this will whet the appetites of many to just continue, whether individually or with the parish, into some other delving in more deeply into the riches of Christ. We're looking at continuing the study in some fashion. There are certainly many other approaches we could take. There are individual books that could be studied on a similar format that we're considering. So we see this as a wonderful step, maybe a first step, but a way to build discipleship. So eventually we can be the people that Christ calls us to be, to go out and to share Him with others, to be Christ to others.
We're getting close to the end of our session. Is there anything that you can think of that you would like to share about this Bible study, encouraging other parishes to do it? Or
I would just say that it's well worth the time and the effort, Mike. I think the blessings will we've seen some, and we'll see many more, just because we have people who know more and who are their understanding is deepened. It's a and you can get wrapped up in a numbers game. It can be discouraging if you only have 30 or so who come. But that's 30 that God has called, and 30 that you can work with. I think anything that can be done along these lines only helps.
I think when we look at our faith journey, so much of it hinges on God's plan for us. And Bible studies provide a sense of what that plan is, because it starts at the beginning. It gives us an insight into the experience of the faith community from the beginning of time. And so we have something to latch on to when we are looking at our own lives and our own journey.
That's a wonderful insight, Mike, because that's one of the great points of this whole study is that we need to make the Bible story our story, that it is our story. It's not just tales of people long ago. These are people who wrestled with real issues, real matters of faith, and they can lead us and help us in our own issues.
Well, I want to thank Deacon Dave Mays for coming in this morning and sharing about the Bible timeline. And I also want to thank Dennis for doing such a wonderful job keeping me on track and making sure I don't put too many fives in the phone number. We are going to continue the show today with a recorded session of Allison Seibert from last week or last month when we couldn't come on because of technical difficulties. And until next time, I would like for you all to remember that if you are wondering what God has planned for you and you need to decide what to do, in God's plan, always round up. Welcome back to the Red Sea Roundup. Just a quick reminder that today's show is pre-recorded, so you won't be able to call in as you normally can. But today we're talking to Allison Seibert, who is the Associate Director of Advancement for our local Catholic Charities office. Good morning, Allison.
Good morning, Mike. Thank you so much for having me.
So you all just had your Celebrate Life event. How'd that go?
It was amazing. We had an outstanding crowd there, and the success of the event was just phenomenal. The support from the local community was just far exceeded what we expected. So really big success.
What kind of feedback did you get from the people that attended?
Well, this luncheon, last couple of years, we've had it as a dinner, which is a big change for the community. So people are used to coming at nighttime, and it would run for about 2 hours. And we decided to change the format of the event because what happened was we would get a big speaker to come in and we would ask people feedback. Well, what did you think about Catholic Charities? And they would say, oh, your speaker was great. And so we'd say, well, what did you think about our programs? And they'd say, well, what do you do? And so this year, we really wanted to change the focus to be a mission-based luncheon. And so we wanted to get people in to the event and to be able to really sit back and understand the programs we offer. So I think people really appreciated that when we said we were going to have an hour luncheon, that we kept it to an hour luncheon. And they come in there feeling empowered and really knew that the services we were providing in the community. And so I think that was a really good feedback, that people truly understood what we're doing here in Central Texas.
Well, I found it interesting that the presentations were about actual people that had received help from Catholic Charities. So you received a bit of a cross-section of some of the things that Catholic Charities does in our local area. And so I think people went away with an understanding of this is the type of things that they can help with. So for the people that weren't there, what are some of the things that Catholic Charities does in our local area to provide assistance to people in need?
Thank you for asking that, Mike. Well, Catholic Charities of Central Texas, we have 2 offices. We have one in Austin and one in Bryan. And our 2 offices serve a 25-county area. So we serve the Diocese of Austin. And a good way to think about Catholic Charities of Central Texas and Catholic Charities around the country is we are the social service arm of the church. And that is really important because we don't do the spiritual direction like the churches do. That is what they are great at. But what we're good at is providing social services. And so we contain our programs. We have 5 programs here that are operating within this 25-county area. And the programs that we offer are within 3 different focus areas. The first one is caring for children. The second one is strengthening families. And the third one is welcoming the stranger. And so during the Celebrate Life event, you would have seen all of these programs showcased. So the 5 programs we offer are counseling, disaster response, the Gabriel Project Life Center, immigration legal services, and financial stability. So those 5 programs would have been ones that we would have showcased. Disaster response, we didn't have a client story, but we did have our executive director who did talk about our disaster response program.
One of the things I found interesting is we're in the year of mercy. Mm-hmm. So it always strikes me now, things that are related to the year of mercy. And especially when I think of Catholic Charities, I think corporal works of mercy. I think, this is our faith reaching out to others in a tangible way. So I think you all ought to be congratulated on, living out our faith. Now, this was a fundraiser. Did you all have a goal in mind as to how much you were looking for to help with all these things?
We did. So when I've started in November, so I'm a new employee. So I started in November and they gave me this number. They said, we want to raise $50,000 for this event. And I will tell you, we far exceeded that goal. We raised over $100,000. And that has not been done here. And it was for my first event and for bringing people in the change of the event, going from a dinner to a luncheon. It really just, I think my feet still haven't touched the ground. I've been skipping around work. And so it's because of the people in this community. We have the Celebrate Life event that's in the Bryan College Station area to support programs here. So all the money raised from the Celebrate Life luncheon stays in the Brazos Valley. We also have an event in Austin, which is the Creating Hope event, and that money also will go to help programs throughout the diocese. So those 2 programs are really, really important for us, but it's really special for me being here in Bryan College Station to say we raised over $100,000.
Now, aren't you worried that you've set the bar so high that the expectations are going to be that high all the time now?
I think our community is always looking for a challenge, and we always stand up for that challenge. And I'm sure the same thing happened when Red Sea Radio started. People probably said, really? Can we sustain a radio station here? But we always do it. And because of how many people are committed here to this community. And so I don't think there's any challenge that we couldn't accept that we would be able to get because of the people here and the people of faith in our community.
And I really want to thank all our listeners out there because I'm sure many of them were part of this event and also contributed to Catholic Charities. And of course, they're also the ones that keep our radio station on the air. So thank you guys.
Yes, big supporters here in Bryan College Station. And we are just so grateful for everyone that came out and donated and spent their time listening to our wonderful program and have engaged in us in so many different ways. It really, really just inspires all of us.
I wanted to talk a little bit about particulars. You mentioned the 5 things that of those 5, what are some of the particulars that you see in our area that people come to you for help in?
Well, one of our programs that a lot of people in the community may know about is the Gabriel Project Life Center. And so this is the program, some people may be familiar with the Good Samaritan Project that was started in our community. The Gabriel Project Life Center has those same philosophies. It's a pro-life program that is focused on supporting women who are pregnant or who have given birth. And so we offer confidential services in a non-judgmental manner, and we receive women can receive free pregnancy tests, and they can also choose to participate in 2 different educational tracks. Women can come in and they can take pregnancy classes that talk to them about development in the womb. We talk to them about nutrition while they're pregnant, taking care of themselves. Then they can also, once they've given birth, we enroll them in our parenting classes. So these parenting classes, we talk about how do you care for a newborn, what's proper nutrition for a newborn, and we track that child all their way up to their year of age. So it's not just what's happening in the first couple of months once they've given birth. And we also offer material assistance. And so women who come in traditionally, and we also have men come in, so they can come in together and take these classes. Traditionally, they're coming in for the material assistance. They hear, oh, you can come into Catholic Charities and you can get diapers because we have a Earn While You Learn program. So this program is women come in and they take our classes and they earn points. And they accumulate those points and they can go into our Hope Donation Center and get a crib at the end of a class. And for a crib, that's really important for parents. Some of them come in and they want diapers and wipes. So they're able to earn that. And they deserve that because they've gone into these classes and they've done it to empower themselves to become better parents. So the Gabriel Project is really important for us in that caring for children, that big focus we have that I mentioned earlier. And then the other program that we also offer is financial stability. A lot of people may be familiar with that in terms of the utility assistance we provide. So our goal with our financial stability program is to help people achieve financial security and avoid homelessness. Because what we know is if people maybe do not have the ability to pay for utilities or rent, they may be less likely to maintain that in the future. And so we want to get them before they're out on the streets and before they're in that cycle of poverty and unable to come back and really help themselves. But we do intensive case management with them. And we go through all their finances. We have them bring in all their paperwork and look through it and try to help guide them and give them some skills to help them avoid whatever pitfalls prevented them from paying their utility bill. But a lot of people come into us are in a crisis situation and they need immediate help. And we offer that one-on-one support throughout all of our programs, but in financial stability, that's particularly important for us is that one-on-one support and case management. And I'd like to tell you a story about financial stability to help give you an idea of what that's like. My first week on the job, I was questioning, okay, God, is this what you have in store for me? Am I fit for this job? Like we all ask ourselves, what's the plan for me? And I had this woman come in, and she had come in for our financial stability program, and I asked the case manager if I could sit in with her to learn a little bit about the people she's working with. This woman was single, had no kids, and she had a death in the family. And she was entrusted with the care of 2 children, aged 5 and 7, working minimum wage paying job. And she could not afford her utilities because she had to take that money that she was used to paying for utilities to pay for these 2 kids, pay for their clothing and their food. And she came in there and she did not want to ask for assistance. She was so mad at herself that she had to come in there. And I just thought to myself, this is why we do this work. For these people that are in crisis situations, they just need a little bit of a boost to get them over that path. So those are 2 programs that are functional and operating out of our Bryan office and serving this area. Disaster response, luckily we haven't had any in Bryan, but that has been operating in Austin with the Memorial Day flooding in San Marcos. We've been up in West with the West explosion. So Catholic Charities are first responders, and we have that title given to us from the federal government because of our work in Hurricane Katrina. And they noticed of how integral Catholic Charities was in working in that community. And so we pride ourselves on that when we are out there in the community, we hear something happening, we respond. And every donation that's going towards disaster, 100% of it is put towards those people in need. It doesn't go to any administrative costs. And then we also have immigration legal services, which is very important for us, and especially in this community. We just hired a full-time attorney here in Bryan, Carlos. Very fortunate to have him here. And so we provide low-cost immigration legal services to individuals. And it's family-based. And so our goal is to help keep families intact because we know that's what's important. We don't want a mom and dad to be separated from their kids. And so when people are at risk for deportation, we want to make sure that we have legal assistance available to them. And a lot of times people target immigrants. And so for us, we want to make sure that they are receiving accurate legal representation here in the courts. So that program is just booming here in Bryan College Station, especially with our full-time attorney here. And our last program is counseling, which I think is important for people that are coming through all of our programs. A lot of times people come in for one thing and they actually see that we provide another service and come into us. So we offer quality mental health counseling. And we, again, are serving a 25-county area. We have counseling operated from our Austin office, and we just acquired that from the diocese. So it's new, and we are getting our program in place and to roll it out here into our Bryan area, hopefully in the next year or two.
Wonderful. One of the things that I'm always impressed with is that while Catholic Charities is always there to fill an immediate need, it's always a long-range image that we always look, how are we going to sustain this help where somebody doesn't have to constantly be asking for the help, the same kind of help, that we can fix the problem as it arises. So I think, you're to be commended for the job you're doing in addressing the long-range issues. Also, I like the idea of the counseling. One of the big issues we have in this country is mental health services, right. And especially counseling service from a Catholic perspective are hard to come by. So this is a niche that definitely needs to be filled.
Well, it's. I'm glad you mentioned that, Mike, because there's been research that's done looking at people in poverty out of Notre Dame, University of Notre Dame, and they've partnered with Catholic Charities, and they wanted to know what are the difference between people who are living in poverty and those out of poverty and how they make decisions. And they're different. When you are in poverty, you are at the point where it is truly everyday fight or flight. You're trying to think, what are the things that I have to do now to survive, right? It's just surviving. That's all they're trying to do. And they have shown that their brains operate differently, where when you're in a constant state of stress, you're unable to problem solve. So these individuals cannot think at that moment when their car breaks down or their family member gets sick. When they need money, they may go out and get a payday loan that has a 200% interest rate, because at that point, they need to get their children to school and they need to get their car on the road, and they don't have time to wait for their paycheck to come in. They don't have a savings, and they may not have family to rely on. And so whereas we look and maybe say, well, why would you get a loan that has a 200% interest rate? And it's really, these people, again, are just trying to survive. And so I think it's really interesting that the research that's coming out and how maybe mental illness may play in some of the decisions, but also just being in poverty changes the way that they think. And I think it's important for us to keep that in mind. And so we do try to do the long-term planning with them and help them. When you're in a crisis situation, come to us. Come see Catholic Charities and we can help you before you're making those decisions that can have a lasting impact in terms of your financial security later in life.
One other image that comes to mind in all this is you had mentioned that, not everybody has family to fall back on. And yet, God always calls us to see everyone as our brothers and sisters. So Catholic Charities, in a way, is that family for those people that don't have someone to turn back to.
Exactly. And we want people to feel that way. We want people to feel that they can come to us and we won't judge them. Of course, we do have to evaluate what has led them to that place to come to us. But most of the time, people are coming to us as their last resort. They have tried to get assistance other places. They've tried to do it on their own. And then they come to us as a last means. And to see these people come in their faces, most of them, it's how we describe it is they have no light in their eyes. You just see despair. And when they come in and you tell them that you can help them out, their shoulders, they just fall almost to the ground. And you can see in their face, it's like they've never felt that. They've never felt a sense of love and a sense of someone who's willing to come here and help them and not judge them and show compassion. And we want people to feel that way. And we are living out our gospel values. How often do we hear in the gospel about helping the poor and helping the least brothers of mine, what Jesus told us? And I think that's really important for Catholic Charities and people coming involved because it allows us to live our Catholic faith.
That sort of explains the motto of providing help and creating hope.
Yes. Yes.
Putting that light back on in their eyes.
Yes.
Where they see there is at least a path to fixing the problem.
And I want to make a point that we serve anyone in need. You don't have to be Catholic. That's one of the myths. You don't have to be Catholic to get services. You don't have to be Catholic to work there. You do have to adopt the Catholic social teachings. So you are vetted by our executive director, whether you adopt those teachings and incorporate them into your work. But people who come in through our door, it doesn't matter your age, your race, your ethnicity, your religious background. That doesn't matter for us because we are the social service arm of the church. And we don't want that to impede individuals' ability to get services. When people need counseling, they don't have time to go search. If they are, it doesn't matter what background they have. And we want to show them compassion and let them know that they are welcome here, just as the gospel says.
Goes along with that Good Samaritan image. It doesn't make any difference who your neighbor is. The question is, does he need your help?
Yes, and we're judged by that, right? So we serve because of our faith, not because of those others.
Now, we talked about the fundraiser. Is it too late for someone to help Catholic Charities, or do you still take help?
We always take help, and I thank you for bringing that up. And help comes in different ways. So a lot of times when we think of nonprofit organizations, we immediately think of donations. And of course, donations always help, and we always welcome donations. But there are other ways to become engaged with Catholic Charities. And coming on this show, I really want to let people know that one of the biggest ways you can help is be an advocate for Catholic Charities. And part of advocacy is coming to know about the work we're doing here in the community. This is not just a Catholic issue, right? Helping our brothers and sisters in need. This is something that most people would adopt. I talk with people in the community, and they are very interested in what Catholic Charities does. So I invite every listener to come take a tour of Catholic Charities and come meet us. And I'll give my information at the end of the show. We have our website at ccctx.org, where you can go on there and look at our programs and also schedule a tour. Come by and see us. We're in Bryan. We're local, and we offer CC 101s, which are lunch and learn opportunities where you get to see our mission in action. So advocacy, what you can do for us is help us with referrals. You may be talking with someone who works at another nonprofit organization that may not know anything about Catholic Charities. And so the best way that we can serve the people of our community is make sure as many people know about our programs as we can. So I think advocacy is really big, and then volunteers are always needed. And we have wonderful volunteers and people from Texas A&M that come to volunteer, just people in the community, people at churches. And we have a wonderful partnership with local churches here. And so volunteers are always something that really help us reduce costs and be able to allow us to serve more people here.
So one thing our listeners can do is, if they know somebody that needs help, refer them to Catholic Charities.
Yes. That is truly helpful for us. We do not want anyone out there who could have a need but does not know where to turn. And at Catholic Charities, we have a no wrong door policy. So we may not provide a certain service. That's okay. We will take people in. We do a full intake with them, and we will refer them to other agencies. So, for example, we do not provide clothing, maybe for adults. And so St. Vincent de Paul does. So we may refer that person to St. Vincent de Paul, and we have a wonderful relationship with them. We also don't offer a food pantry. So if people come in there and they need food assistance, we refer them out to other agencies. And so that's why I like to say we have a no wrong door policy. If you have someone in need, just have them call us, and we will always take them to where they need to go.
I think that is one of the really wonderful aspects of Catholic Charities, because I think one of the most depressing things is for someone that needs help to come to a place of assistance and be told, well, that's not the type of assistance we provide, so I'm sorry.
Yeah. How would you feel if you called someone and you said, hey, I need this, and they told you on the phone, no, I'm sorry, we don't do that, and have a great day, and you feel lost.
Right. And so I like the fact that you all stay up on who provides what assistance. So when someone comes to you, rather than saying, no, we can't help, you say, well, if you go here, that is the help you will receive, and you're looking for it. We're getting close to the end of our interview. Is there something in particular you would like to have our listeners know about Catholic Charities that we haven't talked about yet?
Well, as I mentioned, the myth of we serve anyone in need. You do not have to be Catholic to work there. And we take great pride in the money and any support that's given to us. 85 cents of every dollar that we collect, it's going to direct services. So we feel we are very good stewards of our money. We have a wonderful relationship with the parishes, and we also have a great relationship with the diocese. So we have a great partnership with the diocese. We're not completely supported by the Diocese of Austin. So about 30% of our funding is from the diocese, which is wonderful, but we still have to make about 41% from donations. We also get grants, but again, that 41% is what we're getting from individuals and businesses. And so we just like to inform people that donations are always helpful, in the fact that this community has been so engaged with us. We know that the potential's there, and we have so much great programs that I really do invite people to come and check us out, and do not be a stranger to Catholic Charities. Those CC 101s that I talk about, you can find on our website at ccctx.org. And we have wonderful staff there that I would love for everyone to meet and get to know, our wonderful case managers.
If someone does want to make a donation to Catholic Charities, do they talk to you? Do they talk to Austin?
They can talk with me. I'm here locally, so our offices are open Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 5, and I am there unless I'm at meetings. But I invite people who perhaps want to come meet with me and learn more about ways to become engaged, or they may be working for another organization that needs to have presentations. We go out to parishes, we go out to organizations, any meetings, and can come talk, whether even it's at A&M, if you have student clubs that you want us to come talk to and inform them about the work we're doing at Catholic Charities, we can go out there. And so our website is probably going to be the best resource, the ccctx.org. And then also, I can give you our phone number, which is 979-822-9340. And we can always, people want to call in with donations, or they want to volunteer. That way they can just reach us either through our web form or directly through our line.
If I decide I want to volunteer, what type of things do you have for the volunteers to do?
Thank you for asking. We have volunteers in a variety of our programs. One of the ones that a lot of volunteers comes through is the Gabriel Project Life Center. So sorting donations, we have people who donate clothes, diapers. Those all need to be organized, sorted through by size and season and gender. And then also, a lot of people in our community do diaper drives. So there are individual groups that will come together and collect diapers. They go buy 10 packs of diapers and donate it. And so there are ways that you could have a service project, perhaps. Maybe some of the youth ministry here in town can come together and do a service project. So a lot of our work is through the Gabriel Project Life Center for our volunteers. When the disaster response team is activated, volunteers are always needed. So it's good to have people just on call if they let us know this is something I can do once a week or maybe once a year. And so within our donation center, there's always organizing, filing, helping at the receptionist desk, making flyers, and again, being an advocate, something you can do without having to come into our agency and be working there. You can do it out in the community.
What type of interaction do you have with the local parishes? I know that we have had, announcements on the golf tournament, announcements on the fundraisers, But do you interact with like the youth groups to ask them to have diaper drives and things like this?
We do. Each week we have a section in the bulletin. So we have a phenomenal relationship with the parishes, I will say, and the priests there. They have just been wonderful in their support to Catholic Charities. And we have in our bulletin, there is going to be a segment called Catholic Charities Corner, where we always talk about opportunities, things that we may need. And so we always reach out to the parishes to let them know if we are low on diapers or other material needs. They will always come through and help. And we have an advisory board here in Bryan, and we have representation from the different churches. And we're always looking for more people to assist in that way. And so that helps get information out to the parishes as well. We could not do this without the parish support. So we've remained strong over the years and do look forward to different partnerships, just as we can also come out there and help them in different ways for the different activities that they have.
So that's a good way for someone to help Catholic Charities, if nothing else, to act as a liaison between the parish and Catholic Charities. So Catholic Charities knows what the parish is doing, and the parish knows what needs Catholic Charities may have and what opportunities there are to help out.
Exactly. And I would say that most of our referrals, I do want to say, come from word of mouth. And just as it is also people knowing about Catholic Charities, just you talking with someone briefly about it. So yes, that back and forth communication with people in parishes of activities that are going on and things that they may have a parish festival that Catholic Charities could have a booth at and can help in any ways. So that definitely reciprocal interaction is really helpful for us, for our community.
And for those of you that have not noticed the Catholic Charities section in your bulletin, when you're reading it, keep an eye on that so you know what's going on with Catholic Charities.
Exactly. Yes. Yes, Mike.
You've just been with Catholic Charities for a short period of time. How has your experience changed your impression of Catholic Charities? Going in, I'm sure you had an opinion of what this was going to be like.
Yeah, I worked at A&M for 8 years, and I am not from this area. I'm from Boston. So this, to me, came here and worked at A&M for most of my time here, living in College Station. And this opportunity came up at Catholic Charities. I thought it was more evangelizing, like truly, reading the Bible with individuals and be praying with clients. And it's the best thing that to know about these programs and know that our focus is on social service and getting to work with the different programs and seeing we're meeting what we consider basic needs. And I don't mean basic as unimportant. I mean that these are things people need to thrive. If we do not meet these needs, people cannot get to the point where they're able to maybe study, maybe earn a degree, go to work, be good parents. And I felt very grateful coming over here to Catholic Charities and being in a position that allows me to listen to these stories. People are trusting us with their, deepest, darkest moments of their life, and they're vulnerable. And so to come over here and be with these people in our community, some of them that feel marginalized, they are people that have felt hurt over their lives, and to know that we're going to serve them and to see God's work being done, truly being his hands and feet. And it's really an honor to be at Catholic Charities. And again, like I said, I've worked at A&M for 8 years, loved it, and felt a strong calling to do something different. And really, Catholic Charities allows us to live out our faith and see the gospel at work, see Jesus's teachings here in the community. And that has just been phenomenal for me.
One of the comments you made about the basic needs, excuse me, the fact that, people people make bad decisions when those basic needs aren't being met. And you had talked about, how people think differently. And I think this is one of the things with Catholic Charities that in addressing those needs, you're eliminating the need to focus on the immediate, and people can actually start seeing a future. And that's where that whole hope comes in. So I think it's a wonderful opportunity for all of us to participate in providing hope for other people, in just contributing, spreading the word, letting people know that there is help out there in our community for the people that are really struggling with some of those basic needs.
Yes, and we want Central Texas to be the best place to live. If we're impacting their lives, it's going to improve our education system. You know, our kids are going to schools with families that are struggling. And I engaged in counseling sessions. I did my master's degree here at A&M, and I realized that so many of the kids I was working with, they had problems, like they were skipping school or they were acting out in class. And a lot of those behaviors were because they weren't eating at home. You know, they had other stressors at home. And so it impacts our education system. And not only does the gospel tell us that we need to care for our brothers and sisters in needs, but we know that we're going to have a better community here in Central Texas if we assist these families. And all of our programs are designed to help people get out of poverty and keep families safe and intact. And we know that's important.
And they're all aimed for long-term recovery rather than fixing a short-term problem.
Right. We say we're a hand up, not a hand out. And that's why we do intensive case management. A lot of it is one-on-one consultation with individuals. And as you saw in the Celebrate Life lunch in our financial stability story, that person said they gave me assistance, but they were real with me. They were upfront, and you know, I knew I had to change some of my behaviors and decisions I made in the past. But when we're in need, it's hard to receive that, right? It's hard to receive that stern, okay, well, you did, you know, let's look over your past and let's make a corrective plan. So in the future, you receive that security so you can care for your kids and maintain your employment.
Well, Catholic Charities is doing a wonderful job in our community, and I want to encourage everyone out there listening, if you have the opportunity, especially in this year of mercy, to provide help to Catholic Charities, be it as a volunteer, be it as someone who refers someone that you know to Catholic Charities, or if you can provide financial support, that is a wonderful way to live your faith. Also, I want to thank you, Allison, for being here. It has been a pleasure learning more about Catholic Charities and being able to share it with our community.
Thank you. And I hope you will come by and take a tour. And everyone, I challenge all the listeners, please come by and take a tour. Do not be a stranger to Catholic Charities. And we welcome the opportunity to talk to you more about the wonderful programs we have.
Thank you very much. And a reminder to all our listeners out there, Red Sea will be back next week, and when you're deciding the many ways you might serve God, always round up.